All right, it's everyone's favorite time of year, election season, and I just got my ballot in the mail. So, like I do for most elections, some elections I skip out. I'm going to talk through what's happening with my ballot specifically in the Colorado general election, because there's a lot of weird stuff this year, and some stuff I want to talk through, some stuff I just want to breeze on by. But let's talk through it. So, first of all, when we open our ballot, it's a big year. If you did not know, it's a presidential election year, and of course, that's the first and probably the most important thing that we're deciding this year is who is going to replace Joe Biden as president. So the two candidates, of course, Kamala Harris and Satan himself, are running there, and I'm only half joking there, but everyone knows how I'm going to vote, so I not going to spend a lot of time there. Just saying, like, if you're on the fence, really look at the platform of the candidates, really look at what they're doing and what they're saying, and look at the health of the candidates and who they're going. Quick shout out, just had my hair done. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, huh? Yeah. Yeah, pretty wild. Probably the trendiest haircut I've ever had. This is for two reasons. One, I've always wanted a haircut like this. And second, I finally had an excuse to do it. I'll be in a play called the Thanksgiving Play, and that opens in November at Springs Ensemble Theater. I hope you come see that. And then, looks good. Huh? Are we liking it? Let me know in the comments. All right. So first one, presidential election. I'm voting for Kamala Harris. Variety of reasons, but a big one for me is related to the lack of policy that Donald Trump has put forward, and the fact of the January 6th insurrection. I know people have their opinions about that or whatever. For me, that was a violent coup against the United States government, and he should be barred from running for office just for that. And we'll see how it goes, but Kamala is where I would go. Next one, representative to the 119th United States Congress. So this is your congressman. This election happens every 2 years. This is the House of Representatives. And I am wholeheartedly putting my vote behind River. I met with River probably the first time maybe a year and a half ago when she first launched her campaign. Had lots of conversations with her over the months and weeks leading up to the election, the primaries, the caucus, all of that. And she has a great platform, and I think she'll do a lot for us if she's elected to the House of Representatives. Next one, our state offices. Get two regents, the University of Colorado at large, and then mine, Congressional District 5. I'm voting for the Democrat in both of those areas. I did caucus. I did go to the state assembly and the county assembly, etc. So I've heard the platforms from these candidates, and I believe they are the best candidates for those roles. State representative for me, that's District 17. Wholeheartedly endorse and support Regina English there. She's been doing a great job. She replaced Tony Exum, I think in the last election cycle, maybe it was the election cycle before that. But she's doing a lot of good stuff for us in the General Assembly. And then District Attorney, 4th Judicial District, voting for the Democrat, Jeremy there. Also a good guy. Saw him speak at the County Assembly, I believe. And, don't need to go too much into that. Next one is us voting to retain the judges. This is where I trust my little handy dandy blue book that the state of Colorado sends out related to the elections. In the back of this book, they talk through the judicial performance evaluations. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the judicial performance evaluations basically is the only method we have without, doing strong Googling and looking at actual voting records. And spoiler alert, in the information blue book, every judge says that they should be retained. So I am voting to retain all of the judges. And that's the lion's share of the yes-nos that you'll see coming up on your ballot after that. So you've got Colorado Supreme Court, you've got Colorado Court of Appeals, District Court, and then County Court. And in our blue book, all of those people are said that they should be retained. Now we get to the fun stuff, the ballot measures. And again, refer you to your blue book, also the Googling, but every registered voter in the state of Colorado gets the voter information booklet. And in the voter information booklet, it steps through each of the different ballot measures, amendments, etc., that are coming up for a vote. It has kind of a short description of those. And then as you get deeper into the book, it'll actually outline more detail about what the actual language of the ballot will be, and what the opposition and the arguments for and the arguments against, whatever those propositions, amendments, etc. They all have lots of different names. But the first one, Amendment G, and I'm going to read these. It's everyone's favorite part of when I do these videos. Amendment G, constitutional. Shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning the expansion of eligibility for the property tax exemption for veterans with a disability to include a veteran who does not have a service-connected disability rated as a 100% permanent disability, but does have individual unemployability status? Language for these ballot measures is always confusing. This one I am for. Basically what it's saying is, should veterans who are unable to work be able to use the property tax exemption that already exists for 100% permanent service, 100% permanent and permanently disabled, unable to work veterans. I don't know what the exact language is there, but basically expands access to that property tax exemption for other veterans who are unable to work. Wholeheartedly for this. It's, any relief we can give. I mean, of course, I'm a veteran, so I do have a horse in the race, I guess. But any relief we can give to, in particular, veterans that are unable to work, just helps us not strain other types of resources that exist for these veterans. So if we can save them, maybe $1,000 a year or something like that, that's $1,000 that they're not using in other resources. Keep in mind, these are people who can't work, right? Like they need every dollar they can get, because the only other places that they're relying on is either state or community aid anyway. So that money they would be spending on property taxes is instead going in their pockets. So it's a reallocation of resources, and I think a positive way. Amendment H, constitutional. Shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning judicial discipline, and in connection therewith establishing an independent judicial discipline adjudicative board, setting standards for judicial review of a discipline case, and clarifying when discipline proceedings become public? This one I'm voting yes for. Right now, the judicial review is completely confidential, and it's also done by judges. This one would establish a more public process. It would also not be judges judging judges. It would be community leaders, perhaps other, it would be a collection of people doing that, which I think is good. There's also the addition of public access to some of the proceedings related to that, and right now it's all closed door. So that would be helpful for us. Amendment I, constitutional. Shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning creating an exception to the right to bail for cases of murder in the first degree when proof is evident or presumption is great? This one I was conflicted on. Generally, I do not believe in denial of bail under any circumstances for a variety of reasons. The biggest one being people are innocent until proven guilty. The thing that is making me vote yes for this one is that it's a judge who's reviewing the case. That judge believes initially the preponderance of evidence indicates that this person would be a danger and likely committed the crime. So it allows a judge to be able to deny bail in cases where there's potential harm to society if that person were to make bail and get out. So I am a yes for Amendment I. Amendment J, shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution removing the ban on same-sex marriage? The answer is unequivocally yes, right? It's one of those things that this is, not what the Constitution is for, is to dictate people's lives, but also we as a society have moved past this idea that marriage equality does or should not exist. Frankly, this should have happened decades ago. Amendment K, constitutional. Shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning the modification of certain deadlines in connection with special elections? This one is another one I was conflicted about, but my answer ultimately is yes. It does shorten the window for people to be able to do things, but it provides transparency to the process and allows the state and local governments to better prepare for elections. So I'm a yes to that. Amendment 79, constitutional. Shall there be a change to the Colorado Constitution recognizing the right to abortion and in connection therewith prohibiting the state and local governments from denying, impeding, or discriminating against the exercise of that right, allowing abortion to be covered service under health insurance plans for Colorado state and local government employees and for enrollees in state and local government insurance programs? I am a yes for this. Again, I do not think the state should be litigating what doctors and patients do with each other, and in particular, I don't think the state should be telling women what they can and can't do with their bodies. It's a private medical decision that a woman should make with her doctor and with people that she deems necessary in helping her make that decision. And one of those places should not be the state of Colorado. Amendment 80, constitutional. Shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution establishing the right to school choice for children in kindergarten through 12th grade, and in connection therewith declaring that school choice includes neighborhood, charter, and private schools, homeschooling, open enrollment options, and future innovations in education? I am a no on this one. I believe that even though the immediate impact won't be felt, I think this opens the door for the erasure of public schooling and would funnel public money into private hands in the forms of charter schools and private schools. And on a personal note, it's a lot of, in particular, private faith-based schools are not the best environment for LGBTQIA2A plus children. And I think that public school is one of the great equalizers. I am a product of public school, and I am for it. I believe in strengthening public schools as opposed to continually weakening them into the point where now it's just a full capitalist endeavor. Proposition JJ, statutory. Without raising taxes, may the state keep and spend all sports betting tax revenue above voter-approved limits to fund water conservation and protection projects instead of refunding revenue to casinos. I am a yes for this. No one is ever, people may be surprised, I don't know, but maybe you've seen enough of these videos that I believe taxes help us build society and build civility and culture and all of those things, and that there's not enough private funding to make all of this stuff work. And so when we have tax revenue, we should invest that back into ourselves, into our public infrastructure, and in this case, waterways, which is vitally important, particularly the state of Colorado and the way we feed the western half of the United States. So protecting that is vitally important. Proposition KK, statutory. Shall state taxes be increased by $39 million annually to fund mental health services, including for military veterans and at-risk youth, school safety and gun violence prevention, and support services for victims of domestic violence and other violent crimes, by authorizing a tax on gun dealers, gun manufacturers, and ammunition vendors at the rate of 6.5% of the net taxable sales from the retail sale of any gun, gun precursor, part, or ammunition, with the state keeping and spending all of the new tax revenue as a voter-approved revenue change. My answer to this is yes. That's, again, these taxes are a reinvestment into society, and I am all for that. Sorry, not sorry. Proposition 127, statutory. Shall there be a change to the Colorado revised statutes concerning a prohibition on the hunting of mountain lions, lynx, and bobcats, and in connection therewith prohibiting the intentional killing, wounding, pursuing, entrapping, or discharging or releasing of a deadly weapon at a mountain lion, lynx, or bobcat, creating 8 exceptions to this prohibition, including for the protection of human life, property, and livestock, establishing a violation of this prohibition as a Class 1 misdemeanor and increasing fines and limiting wildlife license privileges for persons convicted of this crime? My answer is yes. Predators create a very important part of keeping our ecological systems active and alive. The proposition itself keeps the protections in place for people, property, etc. So like the actual danger, the dangerous part of the predator is taken care of. So essentially what this is saying is we are banning sports hunting of these key predators. And I am for that. And for the record, Lynx is banned. That's right, Lynx. Lynx is banned federally. So there was no, you can't hunt lynx anyway. But for mountain lions and bobcats, it's essentially saying no sports hunting of those animals. So yes, I'm for that. Proposition 128, shall there be a change to the Colorado revised statutes concerning parole eligibility for an offender convicted of certain crimes, and in connection therewith requiring an offender who is convicted of second-degree murder, first-degree assault, Class 2 felony kidnapping, sexual assault, first-degree arson, first-degree burglary, or aggravated robbery committed on or after January 1st, 2025 to serve 85% of the sentence imposed before being eligible for parole, and requiring an offender convicted of any such crime committed on or after January 1, 2025 who was previously convicted of any 2 crimes of violence, not just those crimes enumerated in this measure, to serve the full sentence imposed before beginning to serve parole. It's a very confusing and probably deliberately so proposition. Essentially what they're saying is, should we force people who are convicted of certain crimes to carry out more of their existing prison sentence? Which on the surface sounds great, right? Someone commits an aggravated robbery, which means they used a weapon or committed another felony or whatever. Heck yes, they should totally spend, the maximum amount of time that the judge has sentenced them in prison. But the issue is that we have other things in place, other laws in place that we as a society have decided are ways that people can lessen their sentences. The idea of prison is, it's a constant debate, right? Is it punishment or is it reform? Is it, doing this live and I can't think of the word, rehabilitation. There we go, right? And I am firmly in the rehabilitation camp, that we're not here to punish people specifically. That's part of it. But more so, we want them to take advantage of the programs that exist in prisons, so that they come back a better, more productive member of society. And one of the incentives that we give people to do that, to take part in those programs, is reduced sentences. This law would prevent those programs from being able to do that, from incentivizing the person. It forces the state to say, no matter what, if you've committed these crimes, it doesn't matter how much better of a person you are, how much you've reformed, how much good you're doing within the walls of the prison, all of that doesn't matter. You have to serve the terms specified in this law. I don't sit well with that. I think that there are legitimate reasons why people are paroled and why people do not end up serving the full terms of their sentencing. And I don't like the idea of a law preventing other methods we have for deciding what that discretion is to come in place of that. Proposition 129, statutory. Shall there be a change to the Colorado revised statutes creating a new veterinary professional associate profession and in connection therewith establishing qualifications, including a master's degree in veterinary clinical care or the equivalent as determined by the State Board of Veterinary Medicine, to be a veterinary professional associate, requiring registration with the state board, allowing a registered veterinary professional associate to practice veterinary medicine under the supervision of a licensed veterinarian, and making it a misdemeanor to practice as a veterinary professional associate without an active registration. This is another one I was conflicted about. And the debate is, there are not enough veterinarians and veterinary technicians in the state of Colorado, and probably nationwide. I don't know. I just pay attention to Colorado. But essentially access to veterinary care, particularly in rural areas, but even in urban areas is not great. And basically you have two ends of the spectrum. You have a veterinarian who's a doctor of animals, right? And then you have a veterinary technician, which could be seen as a nurse of animals, or a certified nursing assistant, licensed LPN kind of for animals, right? So you get this wide swath of experience between the two. You have entry-level professionals who do incredible work, and then you've got doctors. So this thing would add a middle person, so kind of like a nurse practitioner or physician's assistant for animals. And the idea is that that person works under a veterinarian, and they are able to do, almost what a veterinarian can do, but not quite, and more than what a veterinary technician can do. The problem is that I'm going to get the name wrong, but the American Veterinary Association, the accrediting body for veterinarians, does not have an accreditation for this proposed veterinary, what are we calling it? Veterinary Professional Associate. A silly name too, but anyway, neither here nor there. And it's a fully online program is what's being developed for that. So I find it difficult for us as a state to regulate ahead of the federal regulatory body, to say that we're going to create this thing that doesn't have an actual accreditation to it, with the actual accrediting area. I mean, think about it like, if this wasn't animals, if this wasn't veterinarians, it's the state of Colorado saying, hey, we're going to create this new medical profession. And the American Medical Association said, we don't have any sort of credential for that. We don't have any accreditation for that. Then you don't know, as a user of that care, as a patient of that person, really what the quality of their education is and what it means, right? So to me, there's this gap between, yes, we need more of this, but we also need to make sure that by filling the gap, we're filling the gap with something that is useful, beneficial, and recognized by the experts who know this. So the fact that the American Veterinary Association, I think I may be getting the name wrong, is against this, has me voting no for it. But that's where I stand. I don't know. Proposition 130, statutory. Shall there be a change to the Colorado revised statutes concerning state funding for peace officer training and support, and in connection therewith directing the legislature to appropriate $350 million to the Peace Officer Training and Support Fund for municipal and county law enforcement agencies to hire and retain peace officers, allowing the fund to be used for pay, bonuses, initial and continuing education and training, and a death benefit for a peace officer, police, fire, and first responder killed in the line of duty, and requiring the funding to supplement existing appropriations. Probably not a surprise to people, but I'm against this. I'm against it for a few reasons. Number one, this is a weird way to use the ballot. Typically, when propositions like this are put in front of voters, what we're asked about is a new taxing mechanism, a new vehicle for taxation, and then the result of that taxation to be used for something, right? So we'll say, and you'll see some of this when we get to the local measures, right? We're going to add a penny tax to cigarettes, and the idea is that the pennies that we collect from the cigarettes we're going to use for this other service, right? This one is not doing that. This one is saying, we don't care where the money comes from. You're going to give $350 million across the state for peace officer training and support for municipal law enforcement. That is a tough pill for me to swallow, because the biggest problem in Colorado is actually funding the initiatives that we vote for. The things that we approve don't often have the funding behind them. So by dictating, hey, this $350 million is already earmarked for this thing ahead of time, we're not letting the General Assembly, our body of legislators, actually decide what the budget is that they want to approve. We're handcuffing them to not actually legislate the way that they need to legislate. And that's what we elected them to do, is figure out what allocation of this funding should look like, or what allocation of funding should look like. The other part of this that I don't like is there's not a timeline attached to it. So the $350 million could be 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, 1 year, whatever. So that's another part I don't like. There's no telling like what the actual rollout of this would be. And then I know $350 million is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme across the state of Colorado, it does not actually end up being that much money to help with this initiative. Generally, the issues, I'm not going to get into that. You can PM me if you want to hear more thoughts on that. The last one is the death benefit. I think they put the death benefit in this part to convince people that we're not taking care of the survivors of people who are killed in the line of duty. And the fact is that their pension funds, their life insurance, so all of that does generally take care of the family if they have that stuff set up properly. This additional pension that they get is just more money going to them. I don't know, maybe that makes me sound heartless. I hope not. But just saying that I don't think them adding that in there is them trying to be helpful. I think it's them trying to guilt you into voting yes for this thing. And them being the super PAC, or I forget what it is. It's the Conservative Action Committee, I think, is the one who wrote this and got that on the ballot. Proposition 131, statutory. Shall there be a change to the Colorado revised statutes creating new election processes for certain federal and state offices, and in connection therewith creating a new all-candidate primary election for U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives, Governor, Attorney General, Secretary of State, Treasurer, CU Board of Regents, State Board of Education, and the Colorado State Legislature, allowing voters to vote for any one candidate per office, regardless of the voters or candidate's political party affiliation, providing that the 4 candidates for each office who receive the most votes advance to the general election, and in the general election allowing voters to rank candidates for each office on their ballot, adopting a process for how the ranked votes are tallied and determining the winner to be the candidate with the highest number of votes in the final tally. I am a strong yes for this. This is the first time I've seen something like this on the Colorado state ballot. I'm really excited about it. And this is ranked choice voting. Several years ago, I did a video and a podcast with a friend of mine who is an election lawyer, and he pointed me towards a book called Breaking the Two-Party Doom Loop. And when it comes to politics and all of this kind of stuff, I think the two-party system in America is really what is feeding a lot of the hatred and I'll say the heat around elections and around what you're voting for and who you're voting for and all of that. One of the ways to fix that is ranked choice voting. It removes a lot of the party line incentives that exist and focuses on a candidate's the candidate's ability to do the job, the candidates what they bring to that particular role. Look it up, ranked choice voting. I'm just all for it. I think it's an inoculation against some of the heat and rhetoric we see. So I'm a strong yes for Proposition 131. Okay, wasn't that fun? All right, moving on. Municipal ballot measures. City of Colorado Springs ballot issue 2C. There's a long one. Without imposing any new tax or increasing the rate of any existing tax, shall the existing 0.57%, 5.7 pennies on a $10 purchase, temporary city sales and use tax authorized exclusively for road repairs and improvements be extended for a 10-year period after its current expiration on December 31, 2025, to and until December 31, 2035, with all revenues therefrom to be placed in a dedicated fund to be expended only upon road repairs and improvements for major streets, residential streets, access roads for parks and open spaces, road construction where severe deterioration does not allow repair, and providing for Citizen Advisory Committee oversight. The above constituting no changes to the purposes previously authorized as a continuation of a voter-approved revenue change, an exception to any constitutional, statutory, and charter revenue and spending limitations that may otherwise apply. I am a yes. All of us that have driven around Colorado Springs see that our roads suck. Lack of a better word, they suck. And I think if we got rid of this, they would suck even worse. So I'm a yes there. City of Colorado Springs ballot question 2D. Shall the charter of City of Colorado Springs be amended to add a new section 130 of Article XV, that is 15, prohibiting retail marijuana establishments within the City of Colorado Springs? My answer is no, right? Like, voters approved retail marijuana in the state of Colorado, including many residents of Colorado Springs. I think this is an attack on an industry that deserves the same chance at fair and free markets as any other industry. We don't see on the ballot measure to ban liquor stores or, to ban bookstores or candy shops or whatever. I mean, retail marijuana, you can love it, you can hate it, whatever. It's just another business, so I don't think it belongs in the city charter to ban a type of business from conducting business. City of Colorado Springs ballot question 300. Shall the ordinances of the City of Colorado Springs be amended to authorize only existing medical marijuana licensees to apply to become licensed as retail recreational marijuana businesses, subject to all applicable taxes, including the existing 5% sales tax on retail recreational marijuana, to generate revenue for public safety programs, mental health services, and post-traumatic stress disorder treatment programs for veterans, to limit the number of retail recreational marijuana licenses in Colorado Springs so that the number of licensed locations cannot exceed the number of existing medical marijuana licenses on November 5, 2024, and to codify violations and penalties for retail recreational marijuana, which cannot be amended except by a vote of the people in the City of Colorado Springs City Code, including regulations that 1. Prohibit any retail recreational marijuana business within 1,000 feet of a public or private daycare, preschool, or K-12 school. 2. Prohibit the sale or transfer of retail recreational marijuana to any person under 21. 3. Prohibit the sale or transfer of retail recreational marijuana acquired in another political subdivision to a person under 21. And 4. Prohibit possession of retail recreational marijuana by any person at any public or private school, daycare, or preschool. And this one doesn't have a yes or no. It has a for the initiated ordinance, against the initiated ordinance. I am against the initiated ordinance. For number one, I don't like when we pass ordinance, which is law, that specifies specific, this idea that the number of existing businesses can't be more than exists November 5, 2024. We don't know what the needs of the city are going to be 10 years from now. And yes, we could vote on it again, but we wouldn't have to vote on it again if we didn't vote on it this time. Also, this stuff at the city code, including regulations, whatever, that's stuff that's already in place. So they've added it to this ballot language to make it seem like that's what you're voting for. The stuff that actually sounds kind of reasonable, prohibiting retail recreational marijuana within schools, not transferring it, that's all already law, right? So it's just saying that we would follow these laws that already exist. So really, it's more about the bullet points than it is the number points when you're reviewing that. But yes, I'm against that. So this is the last thing on my ballot. You may have more. There's stuff for Monument. There's stuff for Colorado Springs School District 20. But I live in Harrison School District 2, so I'm actually really excited. This is the last thing I'm talking about because I'm really excited about this. So this is School District Ballot Measures, Harrison School District Number 2, Ballot Issue 4A. Shall Harrison School District Number 2 taxes be increased by $9 million annually, commencing January 1, 2025, and expiring December 31, 2034, which shall be used to fund educational needs, including but not limited to attracting and retaining high-quality teachers by offering salaries and benefits that are competitive with other school districts, providing community college scholarships to students who graduate from a district high school, improving all existing district charter schools, including Atlas, James Irwin, and Vanguard charter schools, provided that the expenditure of these funds shall be reviewed annually by a Citizens Oversight Committee, which will submit a report to the public on the use of funds for accountability and transparency purposes. For 2024 and thereafter, may such revenues be adjusted annually for the percentage change in the Denver-Aurora-Lakewood Consumer Price Index, and shall such tax increase be an additional property tax mill levy in excess of the levy authorized for the district's general fund pursuant to and in accordance with state law. I am yes for this, and for a number of reasons. One, Harrison School District 2 is my neighborhood. I've lived here for 15 years or more. Maybe I don't want to do that math on camera. So what I'm talking about is my neighborhood, the people I live with, and how making better schools in this neighborhood is going to make this a better neighborhood for everyone who lives here. And by doing that through competitive pay with teachers, hiring better talent, reinvesting in these types of charter schools that are working, I wholeheartedly am for that. And then also, the community college scholarship part of that comes from an initiative called what's now called the D2 Promise, or the Harrison Promise, but it originally was the Dakota Promise, and this was launched 4 or 5 years ago. And the results of that have been increased college going rates for students who graduate from a Harrison District 2 high school. Those students in college are succeeding at a higher rate and transferring to other schools at a higher rate. So by providing these scholarships to Pikes Peak State College, what that's doing is changing the landscape of the neighborhood, not only K-12, but beyond, and creating real opportunities for people previously and historically that have not had those opportunities. So I'm an enthusiastic yes for that. And if you live in District 2, I hope you're an enthusiastic yes for that as well. And that's it. Hey, I guess I'll say the typical, like, let me know in the comments what you think. I may engage with the comments, I may not. I'm not really on socials all that much, but people like it when I do these videos. And then I also need to say at the end of this that these opinions are my opinions. They do not represent the opinions of any organization that I represent, including my employer or any of the organizations that I am on the board for. These are the personal opinions and the personal expressions of Matthew Radcliffe and nobody else. Thanks for watching.